Hey, we're back on Sportsbet. Betting Insight today, Pauly and Teddy Tuesday, November 15th. Big game breakdown. What a doubleheader in college hoops from Madison Square Garden. Champions Classic, Michigan State, Kentucky, and Kansas Duke. How about a MAC game, Ohio and Central Michigan? And the deep dive, Jimmy Vaccaro, 5 great minutes. How'd the books do? UFC card with McGregor. That wasn't a good result. He'll run it down coming up, and all the upsets in college football, plus the play of the day. Monday Night Football, Teddy, a bad beat. The over. It opened as low as 46, but up to 47.5, sat there all week. Steamed up last night as high as 50. The teams had 5 touchdowns in 6 red zone tries, but for the most part, it was dink and dunk.
Dink and dunk and dink and dunk and dink and dunk. I mean, there was the one long pass to Eifert on the Bengals' first drive. 7-7 after one drive, and the rest of the game slowed down. Long, slow drives, lots of drop passes, lots of clock burning, neither side pushing the pace. Game stays under. That was a good result for the house, and probably a bad beat for anyone. When you're scoring 5 touchdowns and 6 red zone tries, certainly not a wrong side loser when it comes to the total there. Unfortunately, we took the wrong side of that last night. But, boy, the books did not. The books cleaned up on the total. They did not clean up on the side, Pauly. This one lands right in the middle.
Yes, Giants -2 was the send-out line and available early, then a ton of Bengals money as they went off the favorite. Giants win by 1. For the most part, everyone, hey, you should have won. Most people should have won.
It's one of those games that it differentiates between handicapping skills and betting skills. You could have got Cincy +2, +1.5. They were widely available. You could have had the Giants as an underdog, widely available. Obviously on game day. Books, it wasn't a disaster for the books because there was more money on Cincy, but it certainly wasn't an optimal result, especially considering how much money they made on the total last night, with that game staying under the number.
We touched on it last night. The much-maligned Giants running game, lack thereof. They came alive, 122 rushing yards, and the big 3rd and 6 that Jennings picked up the first down as the Giants get the win at home. Bad bets. OKC money came in, +3. They went off the favorite, laying 1. And what have we said last week? And the week after that? And the week after that, Teddy, when talking about key injuries in the NBA.
We're going to say it all year, Pauly. We said it all year last year. If you watch this show every day, you might get sick of this. But every single time it happens, I'm going to point it out. Well, as many times as I can. Maybe not every single time. But when it's obvious like this one. Look, Andre Drummond, hurt. He's out for the Pistons. 4-point line move towards OKC. So what happens? Guys step up when given the opportunity. Opponents let down when foes are missing their best player. And guess what? What was the line? Quote, you can make a living just betting against the NBA injury-related line moves. Happened again last night. Pistons now 5-0 straight up and against the spread at the Palace of Auburn Hills.
Yes, awesome at home. They stink on the road so far. They were betting they bet that Spurs game over against Miami, finished under by 10 points.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Spurs shoot 53% from beyond the arc. You get a dozen scramble points on foul. We call them scramble points. That's in the final minute, one team shooting threes and then fouling and shooting threes and then fouling. So you get a dozen scramble points in a game lined at -11.5, and it still stayed double digits under. I was surprised at all the over money in that one. I didn't see it, and obviously didn't play out the way the markets expected.
NFL early week line moves. Money on Tampa Bay on the road against KC, down to 7. You like the Bucks? Bet them now. They're 18-3 in their last 21 games, but the Chiefs haven't been impressive in the box score.
No, they've been badly beaten in the box score the last 2 weeks. In Tampa, a +7.5 at the open. There's still some 7.5s out there. The line's moving towards 7, but absolutely, Pauly, that is excellent advice. If you like the Bucks, find a +7.5. Bet them sooner rather than later. You can already see the money starting to trickle in on Tampa. I think we'll see more in the next 24 to 48 hours.
What is this now? The Cowboys an over team?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, Baltimore, Dallas, getting bet over 43.5 to 45 in early week betting. Again, when we're looking at the games for next weekend, and particularly an early week over, they're always like, this time of year, you always worried about weather. No, not in Dallas. No, not worried about Dallas. And Baltimore's certainly not an over team. So I have to think that the money coming in on the over here has everything to do with the explosiveness of that Cowboys offense, an offense that seems to get better by the week.
Yeah, no surprise here. Sunday night, Green Bay on the road to take on the Redskins. They're betting Washington. How about Rodgers and McCarthy getting into it again, back and forth in the media? You were surprised, though, with some under money.
Yeah, I mean, the markets are absolutely crashing on the Packers right now. If you like Washington, I bet them sooner rather than later. We're not likely to see the type of Green Bay money that we saw last week, obviously, considering everything we're hearing about in the media about the Packers. And as you mentioned, the issues between Rodgers and McCarthy, two guys who clearly don't like each other. But I'm surprised the total's been bet down. I mean, the Redskins certainly aren't an under team. The Packers aren't an under team. That offense can still move the football. But 51 down to 50 in early betting action.
Some under money with Tennessee and the Colts. The Titans have played 7 straight overs. Mariota putting up good numbers.
Oh, he's putting up huge numbers. And particularly, again, we talk about red zone execution. Mariota has been phenomenal in the red zone. But that Titans-Colts total opened 53.5, already down to 52, despite those 7 straight overs for Tennessee. And again, for the Titans, it's not about pace, and it's not about the big plays downfield in the passing game. It's much more about their ability to generate big plays from the run game and a defense that's not so good. Remember, the total was 48 when these two teams played last month. Now we're talking 52, and that's down from the 53.5 of the opener.
Yes, all right. I don't know what's going to happen later tonight at 4 o'clock Pacific. I can't really bitch what the committee's going to do with their top 10 as all the shakeup with all the teams going down. This is always fun to do, and let's get out ahead of this, and then we'll compare on Wednesday's show. We'll do this in the deep dive because the committee's got some things to look at. As a pro bettor, I want your top 10 power-rated teams.
Sure, and these are based on power ratings, strict numerical power ratings. This is what I've got as my top 10. Number 1, everybody's number 1. It's Alabama. Number 2, Ohio State. 3, Louisville. 4, Michigan. 5, a team that nobody's talking about in the playoff rankings. That team would be USC. Number 6, Clemson. Number 7, Oklahoma. Actually, I've got Oklahoma tied with number 8, Washington. Number 9, LSU. And I have LSU a half point ahead of Wisconsin, even though Wisconsin beat LSU earlier in the season. That's my top 10. Obviously, the committee's going to look at different things than I look at. I'm looking at how a team's playing now, and a committee has to be concerned about how a team played throughout the course of the season. But the committee's stupid. Let's be real. And we know what's going to happen. We saw it last week. What did we see last week? A bunch of upsets. So now they're saying, oh, well, look, it's set up this way. No, it's not. There will be chaos. There will be chaos between now and the final weekend. And then the championship weekend, there'll be more chaos. It happens every year. It's fun to talk about, kind of. But in terms of betting, well, we'll talk about some of the betting implications on tomorrow's show in the deep dive.
And they make shit up. Remember last year they brought up game control. Whatever that is. They're going to do
not,
whatever.
Look, it's all nonsense.
Yeah.
What they're not doing is sitting down with Vegas odds makers and offshore odds makers and looking at power rating numbers. And frankly, that's probably what they should be doing.
And they hate math, which you got to love that too, these buffoons. I tell you, if you're the Big Ten, and we'll do a lot on this tomorrow, you got to love where you're at because Barry Alvarez, by all accounts, runs that room. And so we'll see. Hey, the odds makers agree with you with USC number 5, Teddy, and also Ohio State. What does that say? That Ohio State is the second choice to win it all, and they probably won't even get in their conference title game because we'll go to that coming up on tomorrow's show as well. Big game breakdown coming up next. A great doubleheader on ESPN in college hoops as the marathon continues. It's coming up on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SBR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much, much more.
Back on SportsBit, Pauly and Teddy. Time for Big Game Breakdown. As always, live odds, sportsbookreview.com. The 24-hour marathon continues on ESPN with a great doubleheader from Madison Square Garden, the Champions Classic. Let's start with Michigan State and Kentucky. Kentucky 7.5, 153.5 the total. You already see I've seen some early over money in this one. Spartans played good defense in the loss to Arizona. They only allowed 65 points, 38% shooting for the Wildcats, and they forced 14 turnovers. Great quote from Izzo. Really good quote. I think this will be one of the best teams we've played in years. I'm anxious to see how we compete, but I still like this team. I like them a lot. I think we've got as good a chance as anybody to win tomorrow night. We're not going to win by fouling. We're not going to win by turning the ball over. Those will be two critical things in taking bad shots because they can get it from one end to the other better than any Kentucky team that we played. Again, this will be a great quote. This will be a track meet. I don't see a lot of half court in this game. End quote there from Izzo. Teddy, you as usual here with Kentucky, they just reload and it's a whole new cast of players.
Yeah, I mean, for Sparty, I was impressed with Sparty in the opener to Arizona. You know, when you talk about those 14 turnovers, remember, they only allowed 7 assists in that ball game. So they really got it done playing half-court defense. Offensively, they struggled. You know, Miles Bridges scored 21. No one else reached double digits for the Spartans in that contest. But when you look at the Kentucky side of the equation, it's complete rebuild. I mean, it's Coach Cal gets the talent. But at the beginning of the season, it's young, it's raw. I mean, they're starting 3 freshmen. You know, Idrisi Adebayo, Malik Monk, the picture here, Malik Monk, I should say, and Aaron Fox. The 6th man, Wenyen Gabriel. He's likely to be starting at some point this season. The senior Derek Willis starting ahead of Gabriel for now, but I don't think it's necessarily going to last that long. So the veteran starter, you know, sophomore Isaiah Briscoe, a very, very young Wildcats team, and they don't have a whole lot of depth so far. Only 7 players got double-digit minutes, and that was in a blowout win over Canisius.
Yes, Calipari was asked if his freshmen are ready. Quote, I have no idea. They may pee down their legs, end quote. We've got good players. That's not what wins. When asked what wins, he said the grind, the toughness, the grittiness, setting good screens, all the little things, the offensive rebound attempts, saying I'm not getting beat to the ball. So there's good stuff there from Coach Cal. Who knows? Who knows what to expect coming up tonight?
Well, I mean, at this stage, you know, the era in which we said, oh, the freshmen are going to pee down their legs, that era's come and gone. You know, that era ended 25 years ago with the Fab Five in Michigan and hasn't been back. The freshmen for Coach Cal, I mean, come on. These guys have played more big games in big venues in high school than, you know, your average senior at a mid-major school, for example. These kids are battle-tested. They're ready. I don't see them pissing down their legs when they go to a place like Madison Square Garden.
We'll get to this game at the play of the day. Back to that coming up. Game number 2, liveoddsportsbookreview.com. Kansas and Duke. Duke 3.5. 167.5 the total. Over money there already in that one. Kansas veteran group. Mason, Lucas, Graham. They're led by those 3. They lost 103-99 in overtime against Indiana. All 3 fouled out, though. And 74 free throw attempts in that game.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't bad basketball. It was just too many possessions. It was really one of those games where, up and down the floor, you go into OT, and all of a sudden, your best players, Mason, Lucas, and Graham, all end up on the bench. Hence, the 4-point loss. And, of course, Bill Self, what's he talking about? He's talking about better rebounding. Indiana beat him 44-36 on the glass in the opener. Quote, we competed hard down the stretch, but physically they just beat us on the glass, and that was the difference in the game. There were some decent things that we did, but not very many defensively or rebounding. I don't think you can just, turn the switch on and automatically get a lot better at a lot of things, but it's something we've actually labored with the entire preseason, getting our guys, big guys especially, to look athletic and go after the ball.
What if the Dukies get in foul trouble?
I have no idea what Coach K is going to do. I mean, he knows all about having problems with rebounding and problems up front. If there's any foul trouble at all, look at the picture. He's just going to hold his hands up. You look, they have 2 projected starters that aren't healthy enough to play yet, in Jason Tatum and Harry Giles, 2 guys 6'8" or taller. The first big man off the bench also not able to go. Another 6'10" guy. So how little depth? We're talking about 6 players, Pauly, 6 players in beating Grand Canyon 96-61 on Saturday. The top 6 players, 185 to 200 floor minutes. They scored 89 of the 96 points. So you get the first team playing together without substitution. Yeah, sure, they get better chemistry, but they get into any kind of foul trouble, that chemistry may well go out the window.
Yes. College football now, 4 o'clock tonight. Ohio and Central Michigan. Ohio won on the road. Key handicapping factor, some senior nights mean more than others. Cooper Rush, 4-year starter at QB for Central Michigan. Led the team to bowl games each of the last 2 seasons. They need one more win to be bowl eligible this time. They might need to win this and at Eastern Michigan to assure they get in the bowl What do you think of this, Teddy? Is this kid, hey, this kid's a great student, too.
He is. I mean, look, here's the key point that we're trying to make here. Some senior nights mean a lot. Others, not so much. When you have a senior-laden team, when you have a star player who everyone's going to come together and support, like Cooper Rush, all of a sudden it's a senior night that means something. You have a crappy team and not a lot of seniors at the end of a bad year, senior night doesn't mean a damn thing. But in this instance, I mean, you talk about Rush being a student. He's one of 12 finalists for the National Football Foundation Scholar Athlete of the Year Award. The winner gets $18,000 for postgraduate education, which will pay for, I don't know, about a couple of weeks' worth. Here's what the head coach. You want to read the quote from John Omega, or should I do that, Pauly?
I'll take it. Quote, I'm very proud. I think maybe the only people that might be more proud are his mom and dad. Tremendous honor. Really a great recognition for somebody who's done everything right, everything that's been asked of him on and off the field. It's confirmation that if you work hard and you truly commit yourself, you can maximize your potential. There are no limits to what you can accomplish with hard work and determination. He's a tribute to our entire program. I'm very proud of him, end quote. How about the Fighting Bobcats and Mr. Solich?
Hey, he's done it again. I mean, look, they have not had a losing season since 2008. And Frank Solich, I mean, Nebraska hasn't been as good since he left. And he got run out of town because they were losing 3 games a year or 4 games a year. But they just keep grinding away. They're already old bowl eligible. They've gone 6 times in the last 7 years. And a win tonight clinches an appearance in the MAC title game. There is one matchup edge here, legitimate matchup edge for Ohio U, that's going to keep me off the Central Michigan side in this ballgame. And that is the Bobcats defense. What are they? Number 2 in the nation in quarterback sacks. They have 36 QB sacks already. Only Alabama has more than Ohio U. Not Ohio State, Ohio U. Meanwhile, Cooper Rush, he's already been sacked 31 times. That's dead last in the MAC. So the strength of Ohio's defense matches up against the weakness of Central Michigan's offense. Both teams with a lot to play for. Fun one to watch, not one I plan on wagering.
Yes, it's Tuesday. That means Jimmy Vaccaro in the deep dive up next. How'd the players do? How'd the books do? UFC card to recap, and also the election. That's coming up with Jimmy. And the play of the day on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.
Go to SBROdds.com. Browse, compare, and shop live odds available at top online sportsbooks.
All right, 5 great minutes every Tuesday with Jimmy Vaccaro. If you're in Las Vegas, stop by and see him at the South Point, bookmaker for over 40 years. Follow him on Twitter. Jimmy, it took 10 weeks. We finally got a great Sunday in the NFL. Fantastic games.
They were just truly amazing, and you can really say that about the entire week. You know, obviously we had the most contentious election we've had in our lifetime. We had a Saturday where 2, 3, and 4 go upside down. And then we had a Sunday, which you actually been waiting for a long time. You can't keep talking about this in a manner where this stuff is not entertaining. You can't keep listening to the people in the hierarchy telling you the TV ratings are going down. I could care less. I can tell you that the betting windows are going up. It's for 2 reasons. First of all, football is a culture of our country, my friend, and people just enjoy it more and more and more. And you know what, my friend? It's not harmful like some people make it out to be. But yes, getting back to your original question, what a Sunday. I really can't believe what I saw yesterday like everybody else. It was incredible.
Wow. How'd you do? What was good? What was bad?
Saturday was like a push day. We started out real good. I'll tell you quickly, Saturday, our worst game was Washington USC. We got drowned with USC money, and that definitely was on the right side. The best game for us was the Running Rebels. I mean, it was all Wyoming, and obviously rightfully so. If you talk to everybody on Tuesday and Wednesday, and Wyoming obviously has turned the corner. They're doing great. Pros, very simple, my friend. We beat the Saint game. We beat the Packer game, and then to top things off for the day, which means there's no carryover tonight, is the Patriots going down and knocking down, Teasers money line, and Teasers was the big deal. Teasers are becoming a very, very sophisticated bet by people who think they're sophisticated, just like give me the team and they have to win. And in a lot of cases they do. But those were the 3 big games for us, and tonight we're just skating around. There's really not a lot of liability because, again, the third hammer to the head for the players was the Patriots game, and behind the counter on my side, it was the best game leading into Monday night's game.
Yeah, Saturday was crazy. You nailed it. Only the second time that number 2, 3, and 4 in the country lost on a Saturday. You had at least 11 teams that were laying 7 or more that lost. How about the bridge jumpers? They must have got buried on those games.
Well, we won about 40,000 on the Clemson game, but we gave it all back when we put the Iowa score in. There were so many little tickets that had against Clemson, had against Michigan and whatever, and it was really, really amazing. We had a few kangaroo jumpers, a $35 2-team parlay. Guy picked up $5,000, so we gave the majority of it back. But it was just stunning because I don't know, we usually don't get that many small tickets on those big underdogs because obviously they haven't been cashing in. But they got us pretty good on that, fair and square. I mean, you saw tremendous endings with those games. I was really rooting for the Pitt side, even though we paid out a lot of money on the money line. It was a very, very big game for us also. But I don't know where it's going, my friends. I don't know where we've been and where we're going, but I know one damn thing. It's pretty doggone fun to be in this crazy racket. What do you think, my friend?
No, no doubt about it. And I know our friend Nick Bogdanovich at William Hill, he told me Saturday morning he expected that UFC card to be the biggest handle of any UFC event ever. How was it at your joint?
We're not a UFC big-time joint. We take small limits, only take 1,000, 2,000, but we probably wrote about $150,000 on it. And to us, that's a pretty good benchmark for the type of player that comes in there. More of a local guy, especially at nighttime when you're hanging around just watching the 4:30 and 6:30 and 7 o'clock games. We did relatively well. We lost the McGregor fight, but we did good on everything else. So I would suggest I didn't mind that at all. And it seems that it does better when it's out of town for us because obviously, if you're here in town, if it's here in town, people obviously go there and bet at the MGM and the Mirage. But when it's out of town, they come and see us. So I welcome those fights when they're out of town. And McGregor, he's a firestorm. Make no mistake about it. If he can conjure up something that's contradictory, I'm all for him because he drew a lot of attention for us. Yeah,
and one more. You mentioned it earlier, but this drives you nuts. And I know you did 30, 40 interviews. I think it was just one site, Betfair, that the biggest event they've ever had was the election, 140 million, something like that. Crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. And I talked to one of the guys over there in a major, major book, and they said, Jimmy, this was 2 days before the election. 2 days before the election, they had done more money than any other election I've ever booked. The United States people, obviously, the presidential election. 2 days, because you can only imagine what they did on the day before and the day of the election. So it does rankle me after all these years and seeing all the publicity and all the money go over there. But hopefully, my friend, you might see that change in your lifetime, but it's going to be a stretch, my friend. But it's a downright change. We can't book our own presidential election.
Yep, well said. You're the best. Thanks for 5 great minutes.
Do your research before you bet. Check out our ratings guide to see which books have the best ratings and sign-up bonuses. Open up several accounts. Shop for lines at SBRodds.com. Always be ahead of the game.
Jimmy Vaccaro segment. I love it every week. Funny stories, good anecdotes, and of course, the type of info that our audience, I'm assuming, is interested in. I'm interested in it, so I got to think they're interested in it. Pauly, play of the daytime. What are we looking at tonight?
Yes, all right. Even with the last week or so, it's still a great run, 23-12 run. Betting number 741-742 over 153.5 back to Michigan State and Kentucky. We read that quote from Izzo. He expects it to be a track meet. We expect it to be a track meet as well. Up, 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 push it, tempo, tempo. This will go over 153.5, Sparty, Kentucky. Betting number 741-742 over the total. We'll react to what the committee does on Tuesday. We'll run down all the NBA. Big game breakdown. A lot to get to. Louisville and Houston. The Saints and the Panthers. Big show coming up Wednesday on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com. Thanks for watching.